Here we go with another edition of the News and You. So, what's in the news and how do we use it in our prepping, our everyday prepping? Let's jump into it. CBDCs. The article was talking about how CBDCs and Bitcoin and different digital currencies like that can coexist. But I just want to talk more about just higher kind of thoughts and questions about it. So, central bank digital currencies basically, everything is digitized, and thoughts on it are that it can be more control for the central banks in the various countries. So people argue, well, we're kind of there already with, credit cards and all of our online debits, banking transactions, but it's not the same. A lot of the information you read around CBDCs is that it would give too much control. There are articles and discussions about how central banks could say, well, we want to restrict spending or restrict movement, so we'll make it so that anything outside of so many miles or kilometers from your home, your card doesn't work, your money's frozen, can't use it. Or maybe there would be restrictions put on some of the quote unquote sinful items, smoking, alcohol, it could be anything, contraceptives, anything that is not in vogue or frowned upon at the moment, ammunition, guns, saying, okay, well, you can't use it to buy that. I had read a while ago and heard that even credit card companies now were putting a different kind of tracking or coding for if you bought ammunition or firearms. It'd be the same for alcohol. So again, if you want privacy, you don't want to be tracked, you don't want to be controlled in that manner. Well, this gives more control to that ability. As we saw with the all the trucker protests, uh, accounts were frozen, different digital assets. So just think about that. And it does increase our reliance on fragile technology. At least for whatever your thoughts are on fiat currency or paper money, at least it's tangible. You can hold it in your hand. You have more privacy, more control over what you spend it on. So think about that. Think about where we're going with these things. And if you hear, read both sides, read some different viewpoints on the pros and cons of it. Evacuating those with disabilities. This article is on um, how there should be more onus on the building owners, and this was federal buildings in this article, about how there should be special evacuation chairs for people with disabilities. This particular person interviewed was in a wheelchair, or designated special elevators only to be used by those with disabilities. So having been a firefighter, having written a lot of evacuation plans, evaluated a lot of evacuation plans. I've ran fire warden programs, worked with health and safety people. I just want this talk more about thinking about those things. So most plans, it's not termed, it used to be evacuating those with disabilities, but that language has changed to mobility impaired, because mobility impaired um, could be for a variety of reasons. It could be temporary, right? You might have a recent injury, broken ankle, sprained ankle, something like that. You could be pregnant. You could have some sort of an issue where, the confined space within a stairwell, or looking down that stairwell, feelings of vertigo, or different things like that. Um, would reduce your mobility, either temporarily or permanent impairment. So it's generally mobility impaired. And generally, the plans would say, well, you should have a buddy, an evacuation buddy, so that during an evacuation, because you quite often there's lots of false alarms. You don't know if it's a true need to evacuate. So they'll say, okay, well, when the evacuation bells go off, go with your buddy. So someone's with you, one to help you, any particular needs or staying calm or with minor assistance. It should be someone that can physically assist you. If you're a very large person, you should not have necessarily a very, very small buddy in case they have to help you slowly get down the stairs. But that's generally the rule. Go and wait in a relatively safe place, maybe just off, in a landing on the stairwell or in the elevator lobby or something like that. And maybe it's a false alarm, so you don't actually have to evacuate. Even after drills, there's lots of reports of people calling in sick or injured the next day because they weren't, they were injured or stressed or traumatized even by the evacuation. So that shows you the state that some people are in. One, that's preparedness for ourselves. If we can't physically calmly, slowly navigate a set of stairs, we should be focusing a little bit if we can. Now, sometimes you can't do it, but what's our own physical fitness like? But you have that buddy, and you wait until either the main flow of traffic, of people, is gone down the stairs, or until the firefighters come and get you. So this could reduce injuries because it's a more controlled manner. You get the majority of people out. So the article said, well, am I worth less than other people? It's not that you're worth less, but you want to do the most good for the most people as well, and you don't want bottlenecks. So by waiting a bit, especially because the predominance of the evacuations are false alarms, get the main flow of people out, and then start going down. Again, with a buddy that can hopefully assist you somewhat with that. So what can we learn from this? So if you have a mobility impairment, generally the plans say it's your responsibility. Now your leader, your boss, however you want to call it, should be aware of things too and note that, hey, you're on crutches this week, for example. You're mobility impaired. Who's your buddy should there be an evacuation? But you have to take the responsibility yourself as well. Get yourself a buddy. Everything we do with prepping, again, it's not about disability, mobility, any kind of this or that. It's what do you do as an individual and a family first? So what are you going to do about it? If you know there's not a great evacuation, do you know what the evacuation plan is for your building? And what are you going to do about getting yourself to safety? Do you need two buddies to help you down if required? Are you going to get your own special equipment to make it easier on someone to evacuate you? If you're the building owner or the manager, what are your plans to help people get out? Have you revised and reviewed your evacuation plans? Do you have wardens for your building, people to assist? Do you make note of who has mobility impairments or potential evacuation issues of any nature within your buildings? And do you talk to those people about that? How far do we take things? Who bears the responsibility for this? Things there is a practicality and a reality to it. Things are expensive. Things cost money. And if we want equity, because equality is tough, there's not really equality. Everyone's different. We're not equal. But we can have equity. And so if we have dedicated elevators for certain classes or groups of individuals, is that equity? I'm not saying it is or isn't. Well, it could do, but we just have to think about these things and walk through it. And how far are we going to take it? Who bears the responsibility? But more importantly, what are we doing individually? We start there. Have I done everything I can do individually in this case for evacuation, for food planning, for financial planning, for physical fitness, for any of the aspects that we're looking at. Have I thought this through? Have I made a plan? Have I worked my plan? Am I the building owner? Have I done everything I can for my tenants, for those within my building? Do I have good plans? Do people know the plans? Are they aware of them? Have we practiced it? Lots of things to think about. Food bank usage still on the rise. So many food banks across various geographical areas continue to report rising usage. Food's expensive, not as many jobs, high inflation, all kinds of bills to pay. Well, again, what are we going to take away from this? Again, we break it back to what can I do? It starts with me. What can I do if food is expensive? Well, I have to look at my needs versus my wants. And it's easy to say, just cut stuff out, right? Cut out alcohol, cut out smoking, the sins, cut out subscriptions, your streaming services, your magazines, working out at the gym, eating out, wants versus needs, you know? But the reality is you have to make tough choices. And eating, kind of a need versus a want. You know, on numerous occasions, I have been unemployed. What do? I cut back. I've stopped drinking. I don't smoke. Cut out the subscriptions to any streaming services. You know, we look at that as a family. Okay, instead of 4 streaming services, pick one. Eating out, well, you know, it's cheaper to cook. I like to cook. You know, watch for sales. I'm a big proponent of watching for sales, stocking up when you can. It makes financial sense. It makes prepping sense. All kinds of sense. Dollars and cents. Buy in bulk. And if you can't, you know, if you go in and there's a deal on, you know, a case of whatever it is, craft dinner, instead of $17 for 12, it's on for $9. Well, I couldn't possibly eat 12. Well, you know, they last. Or share it with a friend if it's something that's more perishable, right? Go in together so you can buy bulk as a community, a sense of community, and divvy it up between people when you can, when you're employed, when you have a little extra, when you see a sale, if you have the space to do it, stockpile a bit on your own. You never know when you're good. You know, kind of be your own food bank. Set some away. You may have to dip into your longer term food storages if things get expensive. Switch to lower cost alternatives. I hear lots of people, oh, things are so expensive and I shop at this store. Oh my goodness, that's the most expensive store to get food at. Shop around. I go to, you know, I look at the flyers before I go shopping, and I'll go to this, you know, find a spot. I'm lucky I've got a spot where there's a Costco, a Walmart, and a Superstore and a T&T supermarket, all right together. So I look at the flyers, and if something's a little bit cheaper, I park and I walk to one to get something and one to get the other one. And, you know, let's think about it from a broader scale. Do we need to consider who can access food banks? I've seen lots of articles where, you know, somewhere out east in Canada where students, it was, you know, reported that there was, hey, international students in general, newcomers, just go to the food bank. It's free food. And people were all happy. Hey, I found a life hack. Here's my secret hack. Go to the food bank. You don't have to pay for food. That's not necessarily what it's there for. Or I hear other people saying, oh yeah, someone pulled up in their fancy car, went in, picked up a box of food, went out, put it in their fancy car and left. Do we need to look at who can access certain things? What your thoughts are on that? But again, we have to think about it. We have to look from different perspectives, and we have to plan. Thanks very much. Like and subscribe, and talk more soon.